Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Cimnanya, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about the bodies that were found behind Mississippi Jackson police station, where about 215 people were buried, right, on a shallow grave. It was really very shallow. 200 and something. And it was 200 and something before they found out like it's where they were up to 300 and something and all that. And many of the families of the deceased never knew they were buried because they were never contacted by the authorities that something happened. And to tell you that some of one of the one that they exhumed that I am very sure of, his ID card was found in his pocket. So it means there is something fishy about the police station or the police and all that. And also knowing that police patrol were the ones that knocked him down, that killed him, also is very concerning, because I don't understand how somebody and at the same time bury the person without the person's the family's consent and all that. And knowing that there is, proof of where he is coming from is very concerning. And knowing that most of the people that were buried there and their families have been looking for are people that look like me. You know what? Let's get into this.
I think one of the reasons that the bodies behind the Mississippi jail are bothering me so intensely, they should bother all of us very intensely. But for me, I work in the criminal justice system. I have clients who are deemed throwaways. And that's basically what that police department did with all of those bodies. Just throw them away. Didn't bother making the notifications to their families, didn't even let their families know that these people had been deceased. Simply just threw them in the ground in shallow graves. Not much different than what we hear on Dateline that murderers and psychopathic serial killers do, right? A lot of my criminal defense clients are drug addicts. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse for criminal behavior. But when my client is an addict and they're caught in possession of the drug of their choice, they're not distributing it, they're not manufacturing it, they're simply caught in possession of their drug of choice, and the system throws them away rather than trying to do treatment, that bothers me. And it is even more prone in the rural parts of Texas than in the major cities in Texas that I've practiced in. I have literally heard prosecutors argue to a judge on a revocation hearing, it's time to throw this person away. There should be no disposable people in our society. That's the mark of a civilized society. If we see one another as disposable, then we are not civilized. We are not part of the developed world. And one thing that makes me particularly angry, and I'm sure Texas is not the only state to do this because I've heard from other attorneys in other states, but Texas weaponizes probation in a lot of ways. For instance, if you are a first-time offender, you should get a deferred probation. That means if you successfully complete, you'll never have that conviction on your record. But instead, what prosecutors often do is give deferred probation to people that they know will never make it, and it's their 10th time out there. They're never going to make it. But the thing is, it's a lot easier to send them to prison on a probation revocation than it is in a trial. Why? Because in trial, they've got to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. At a revocation, they have to just prove by preponderance of the evidence. So more likely than not that this person violated one condition of probation. So why do they do that? Well, by and large, it's because they believe addicts are disposable. It's time to stop criminalizing that. It's time to stop seeing people as disposable. And since I was a little girl, I've always loved Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm a little bit of a dork, okay? But this is one scene from there that has really kept coming to mind over and over as I have listened throughout the decades to prosecutors arguing that one of my clients is just... I think one of the reasons that the bodies behind the Mississippi jail are bothering me so intensely.
What she says is she has a good valid point, especially for a person that works in the legal team and work in the justice system for many, many years. But let's be honest, prisoners are like kids in foster care. These are rejects, misfits, all kinds. This is what society thinks of them. They're disenfranchised, okay? They're not moral people in society. Regardless, even though they're innocent, but in the court of law, they're proven guilty, okay? And if they can turn around and use this person and have them as a... let me tell you something. The justice system is all about a money-making thing. It's a corporation. Corporations are every entity. The judge, he may be in the judicial system, but if he's state or federal, he worked for the state and he worked for the federal. These inmates are property to the state, so they look at them as chattel slaves, okay? You got prisoners that's doing chain gangs, working on fields and mines and picking up cotton, okay? That's chattel slavery. You got inmates that, first of all, they don't even recognize their name. Their name is a number, and that number is registered to the system. All right? And it's also registered to the serial number of their insurance, which these courts, jails, institution, even the warden and everybody, even the people that's working in the judicial system, because they invest in these business too. Okay? From the legal aid, prosecution, DEA. They are lottery. It's when a prisoner goes in there for at least 15, 16, 20 years, that's lottery hitting a jackpot. Once they go in there, that is it. They don't care. They're part of the system, okay? Of the unwanted system. These men who were in the potter's field, they even gave it a name. You know, and to me, that's illegal for them to bury the people now and not notify their parents. And 9/10 of the time, I don't even think they had an autopsy done. Okay? One guy, they found, this young lady was telling the article, I read the article, where he got hit in the head. And they found it was a contusion in his head. And he had internal bleeding. So what it was an indication? Somebody must have taken something and hit him in his head. Okay? And just like she said, some of them could be drug addicts. Some of them could be addicted and everything. But, okay, if you're a recovering addict, how you was an addict in jail? Because they have contraband and all that stuff inside jails. Okay? The same things that they live in the society in their life, they try to put that in jail. The whole entire thing is, when you're a part of that system, whether it's foster care, jail, or whatever, they're going to treat you any type of way. They don't care if you came from a respectable family. They don't care. Because if they really cared, why would they tell the parents them, oh, if you want the body, you have to pay for it? Why are you going to have to pay for a body that was not supposed to be buried in the first place and they had family? That's the question that I want to know. Okay? No, for real. And why the family was never contact. What they did was illegal. All right? You don't need to be a legal aid or attorney to know they did was illegal. And they claim they did. And that medical examiner coroner, they should be prosecuted too. Because if you knew there's a blunt force trauma hit on a person's head and that can cause the death, and 9/10 of the time they didn't even do a proper autopsy. They just made their suggestion, make their medical report, and that's it. Because that's how the system works when you're dealing in the judicial, which is a corporation. Those inmates were numbers, and I bet you they were cashing their policy out on them, especially based on whatever situation or whatever the medical report says. They were cashing it in because in each jail, it's about numbers, statistics, an entity. You go see the judge, whether it's a traffic court judge, you're going to have to pay something, okay? He's not going to get no money. What he's going to give back to the state or to the federal. Why you think these judges be sitting there like, let's take Young Thug. You think that man cares? At the end of the day, he's getting a check. He's getting a fat check, okay? The only people that's not going to get the fat check is the people in the jury, because they're going to have to get paid regular pay from their job. So they're going to be sitting there listening to this thing for a long duration. The only person that's going to get paid is probably the the officer, the police officer, the district attorney, the lawyer. Yeah. And meanwhile, the same person that's sitting there fighting for his life, he's going to have to be giving them a check and a check and a check and a check. So that's why they don't care. When you go to those justice systems, I remember when I went there for mock trial, and I look at some of these cases, I'm like, he going to jail because of that? So why he couldn't just be on probation? And this is his first offense. Because they don't care. And then it's also with numbers. And that's what they're looking for. There's no sugarcoat with that. Mississippi, honestly, let's be honest, it's one of the poorest states in the United States. So if you have people that are professionals and have businesses, where they're going to invest to make the money? They need fast money. Jails. Okay? Fast money. It's like you really don't want to work, but you have a work that giving you a steady paycheck. That's what they see right there. It's sickening because no matter how they come up with these theories, they were all wrong. There's no justification for it. There's still people, but they don't care. It's the way society has to do a disenfranchised grief and a disenfranchised death. Say, oh, these were rejects, so why are you caring about that? That's how society is. Think of a person that's in foster care. Once they fade out from 18, the foster parents don't want them no more. They can't get no money. It's sad, but this is the society we're living in.
So let me understand this. So are we defending the fact that about 300 and something, before it was 200 and something, and then it's from 200 to 300 and something, like 300 and something bodies were found on a shallow, like, grave. They didn't even dig that very deep and all that. And knowing that some of these people missing were also the people, the police, the family already reported to the cops that they are missing. I mean, why is it? I am asking this because this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Like, why did they bury so many people without even contacting the family? Number one is that one of the young men that they buried was, I said it, had his ID card in his pocket. So does it mean that they did not say it? Because they buried him, I think, after how many months? And then the family, they've been looking for him and reported to the police. The police also were looking. It happened that the police were the one that killed the young man. This is not, police were the ones that they hit him while he was crossing the road, right? And he died. And then they buried him without contacting the family. Whereas the family already also were looking for the young man and also reported to the cops. So if the police were that genuine, why would they bury somebody with his ID card, even when they could actually find him? Because if something happens to somebody, the first thing they do, right, is to search, to check if they can find something on you in order to contact the rightful people to, do the right thing, probably take you and all that. Why did they not do all of that? And when the family found out that they buried the young man in the grave, they also charged them $250, if I'm not mistaken, just to exhume the body and then take the body to morgue to get him ready for funeral and all that. See, there are so many things that need to, and if you check around, most of the people that were affected are people that look like me. Does that not really is that not concerning that people are missing and they were found at the Mississippi, at the police station, behind the police station? Is that not in a shallow grave? Is that not concerning? If it is not concerning you, there is something wrong. There is something wrong with you. So, are we saying it is okay or are we saying it is not okay? Because I don't want to hear all this grammar and all that people are. Really, you all really got to be very careful because I don't understand. I really don't understand. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.